Hello, lovely people out there. How are you all doing? I'm Kate Hill, and welcome to one of our monthly special features, this time finance. We give you the best, honest, balanced commentary and content on our channel. So before we get started and before we do anything else, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit that notification bell so that you get all our updates, our suburb analysis, and all our expert hints and tips around buying and owning property. And as important, if you are enjoying our free content, then please click on that all-important like button too. We really appreciate your support. So today I'm with Tina Howes from Smartmove, one of Australia's leading and most award-winning mortgage broking firms. I've come to talk to Tina today about what is happening in the residential lending space at the moment. Tina and I will cover off on whether the banks are still lending money to anybody. How is your credit rating affected if you have deferred your mortgage payments? Who is borrowing the most money at the moment? Is it investors? Is it owner-occupiers? Are the property markets softening? Can we trust the media? Blacklisted postcodes? Should you get a pre-approval? And what is best practice for borrowers right now? And while I would much rather you watch the whole few minutes of my lovely video, you can skip along to each particular segment that you're interested in if you don't want to watch the whole program. You can watch our video here, and it's also listed in the description below for a special national house price feature. To get more in-depth discussion and analysis on particular locations like Sydney and Melbourne, then please have a watch of our special city feature videos. Hello everyone. So I'm with Tina today to talk, as per usual, about all things banking and the lending environment at the moment, and tapping into her wisdom as a very experienced and knowledgeable broker for residential, super funds, commercial, anything that you need money for. So Tina, talk to us a little bit about whether the banks are still lending anyone any money at the moment.
That's a great question, Kate. Absolutely. The banks are certainly still lending. While there are some challenges, people every day of the week are getting pre-approvals, formal approvals, refinances approved, you name it. Key areas, I guess, that are a little bit more difficult. If you're in an industry perhaps that has been heavily COVID impacted, then there'll be certainly some questions around that.
Yes.
In fact, every customer needs to address that. Have you been impacted by COVID? Do you expect to have any changes due to that?
And are you're having to answer that pretty much with every application that you're putting through?
I mean, the key is we're going in up front, showing that we've addressed that the customer feels confident in their income and their borrowing capacity and their ability to meet the loan repayments. So by going in and telling the banks that up front, it's less questions available for the assessor. So, if you're heavily dependent upon commissions or bonuses, then the banks are taking a more prudent approach on those.
We talked about that last time, I actually remember. So that's not really anything new, is it?
No.
That's just how it's been for the past few months.
Correct.
Throughout this pandemic.
And I would say it's fair to say, since we last spoke, there hasn't been any extra, more stringent factors implemented, other than perhaps some banks that perhaps weren't being strict before may have decided to instigate that new policy. And the reverse can be said that there has been some tightening that banks might say, well, actually, we didn't need to tighten that.
Yes.
And are reversing things.
Yes. Yeah. And I guess they, like the rest of us, are seeing how this plays out.
Correct.
Day by day, week by week, right? So
they didn't learn from the COVID experience of last year.
That's right. Yes. Thank God. Yes.
It's the first time that anyone's come across this. So they're constantly monitoring rental vacancies, default rates on owner-occupied, and certain industries that are asking for repayment deferrals.
Yes, yeah. So I read yesterday, and I reported on this yesterday, everybody, in my news update, that I think it was the association, the banking association, that they had issued new guidelines for credit ratings, saying that if you had organised a repayment deferral and you were asking for another extension to March 2021, that was not going to reflect in your credit rating, that it wasn't going to sort of negatively impact.
No. Every bank...
Is that as simple as it sounds?
Yes and no, it's twofold. Yes, you're not getting a notification on a credit report to say that you're in default or of missed repayments, but there is notification to say that it's unreported. So let's say hypothetically you'd had an application, you've been on deferral for 3 months, and then you end that deferral and then wish to refinance your loan. Yeah. When it goes to the new lender, they're going to see that for those past 3 months, no repayments were made on there. So it's not a bad credit rating.
No,
but depending on which lender you're going to, they're going to have their own policy that guides them on what period of time they require to be comfortable to look at a new application.
And hopefully there would then also be the opportunity for explanation or discussion, and saying, for the client to say, hey, look, I just needed to, like the banks themselves, correct, like we said, we just weren't sure what was going to happen, and I just put things on pause for a little while, but it's all good, and I've maybe repaid what I those past 3 months, and
yes. So, and that's bank to bank. But certainly what myself and Smartmove are doing is case by case, depending on the situation. As you say, have they continued to build up the repayments as though they were still making them but putting it into an offset account, or was there a temporary situation that meant that they couldn't afford the repayments but now they can?
Yes.
And what's that change? So as you say, it's all about understanding the viewpoint and putting that application and case up to the bank.
And I think from what I can gather, they are being encouraged to be reasonable, if you like. They are, of course, still businesses. They need to make sure with responsible lending that the borrower can make repayments, but that they can also then consider why that deferment was perhaps made. And
correct. Because there was an overwhelming amount of people that took up the opportunity because there was no downside in their opinion. Why not have a referral, put the money there for a rainy day, because there was a stage where no one really knew how bad the rainy day would be. But for the most part, if that hasn't been as adverse as they expected, they're comfortable to go off the deferral and perhaps want to get a refinance to get a better interest rate.
So are you finding at the moment, and there might not be a clear division here, are you finding that there are more investors than occupiers, or more owner-occupiers than investors, or are you doing more refinances, or is it pretty much sort of scattered normally?
I think it's scattered normally. There is definitely still a lot of first home buyers that are wanting to get into the market and feel perhaps that there's been some softening that may make it easier for them to get into the market.
If there has, I don't know where that is, but yes. It's pretty active out there.
There are a lot of people that are wanting to get pre-approval so that they're ready to go in the event that this softening happens. Those clients are still waiting. And there are also people that are using it as an opportunity to upsize. So perhaps take advantage of a lack of stock, sell the 2-bedroom apartment, and then get into that, first home that they're finally able to achieve.
We've actually noticed that at Adviseable, there's a number of clients who are looking for their next home. They are upsizing, and they've contacted us to go, let's do this now. So it's it sort of feels, that's very encouraging, and I love that people are doing that and seeing that opportunity at the moment. But really there hasn't been, like I keep saying in all my videos, in the good, solid, middle, outer, normal people suburbs, there's no softening going on. It's very active. There's very little stock. There is...
What I normally see in a softening market is that I can get 3-week cool-off periods. And that you've got all the time in the world, but we're not seeing that at all. We're still seeing, waiving of cooling-off periods. We're still seeing auctions. We're still seeing 40 people turning up to the first open inspection. So the biggest challenge is that lack of stock. So, if you're thinking about selling, now's a good time to sell, because I've got people that want to buy.
Yes, I've got clients who want to buy.
Because for the most part, while there's uncertainty out there, you watch the media every day, you see the numbers, and the New South Wales in particular, you see our new way of life is just learning to live with COVID. But for the most part, you're either in an industry that was heavily impacted. For the rest of us, it's life as usual.
Yes, it is, isn't it? Yeah. Do you find that, and you might not, that the media, or the mainstream media, is reporting what goes on in your world accurately? Do you think that
it's all doom and gloom?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Doom
because
and gloom sells everyone.
It sells, it's clickbait. It means that, you click on the article, you get the scare and then comment and that's what the media need to do. I'm trying to keep a broad perspective by reading across multiple different media sources because you'll see very different viewpoints viewpoints on one versus another.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, couldn't agree with you more. Just another thing that came up, I guess, in conversations, that we've had and also with clients, that it's obviously always good to use a qualified and experienced broker, but I think especially at the moment, depending on where you're looking to buy, I know the banks, many banks have certain postcodes that they are cautious about with good reason. So, and I think that will continue to be so, but I think there is an added case for that now, so that people who are looking to buy in certain postcodes, let's say inner cities, Melbourne and Sydney, should be checking with their broker about beforehand.
Most definitely. I mean, now's not the time to go and buy a property and then try and go get finance afterwards. It's just a disaster waiting to happen. I mean, I don't think there's ever a time to do that. And I must say, a lot of the banks are not pre-approving, so it is getting harder and harder.
Yes.
But at least talk to someone that is trusted and recommended to give you a viewpoint on whether they think you're going to have any issues from a finance perspective. Yes. Go and get your free credit check up front. Make sure nothing's happened behind the scenes that you didn't know about that is going to impact your credit rating.
Tell the nice people how they can do that, Tina.
There is a website called Equifax, which you can go and get a free report every year.
Okay.
And it's instant almost. It's emailed to you within 24 hours.
Okay.
Very, very useful.
And again, I know we touched on this last time, but the banks not doing pre-approvals, I think, is always interesting, because a lot of people out there assume that is just the first thing that they need to do. I hear this all the time. I'll need to go and get my pre-approval first. Yeah. So talk to us a little bit about why that is not happening at the moment.
I guess banks don't earn any money from a pre-approval, and certain banks are really struggling with their turnaround times. A lot to do with offshoring.
Yes.
And because of that, one of the ways of trying to keep their timeframes in check is by removing that pre-approval.
So basically they are diverting the resources that would have gone to processing pre-approvals to other things and actually processing deals that are actually going through.
What they will do is a system generated pre-approval whereby you'll insert your income, you'll insert your commissions, your bonuses and so forth. But then it very much relies upon you putting the right information, not putting your superannuation, for example, in there. And they'll generate that pre-approval. They might do a credit check, but actually having someone run through and distinguish between the difference is crucial because, I've seen borrowing capacities vary 10, 20% purely because someone's quoted their bonus, but actually they only receive that bonus for 1 year where most banks want 2 years. So lots of nuances in there that make sure you're actually genuinely getting a real pre-approval and getting it from someone that is trusted.
Yes. Yep. So would you have any, advice for someone thinking about buying, anything particular that they need to be considering or looking out for at the moment, just in terms of getting themselves finance ready?
Get your finance ready well and truly in advance because it's taking a lot longer. The banks and the brokers have got a lot more compliance to deal with. Those questions on COVID and putting that case forward, that's a new thing, which means that there's more time and due diligence required to cover those off. And then the lenders on the other side are taking longer to assess things and dealing with the remote aspects. A lot of the banks are still working remotely and, internet speeds and scanners, all of those things are not necessarily up to par when someone's working from home. So just make sure you give yourself ample time.
Yeah.
You know, if you're looking for the best deal for you, if you're throwing in a quick approval, it might not necessarily be the best deal because there are not a lot of lenders that are going to give you a really quick answer.
Yes. Okay. So the usual kind of things, I guess: get your paperwork ready, get your COVID story ready if you need one, and talk to a good broker. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Cool.
Well, thank you, Tina.
My pleasure, Kate.
We'll catch up with Tina again in about a month or so to see how things are tracking out there. But at the moment, I think we're both seeing it's kind of business as normal. So we'll look forward to talking to you soon.
Thanks, Kate.